I'd like to talk to you folks a little bit about edge work. I'm seeing in a lot of your paintings you are too soft everywhere, and so I'm not sure exactly where you want my eye to stop in your painting. And it's important to really carve in a hard edge every now and then. I know that as landscape painters, the majority of what we're painting is organic. It's organic form, which means it's soft and fuzzy rather than structured like the edge of a right angle of a home or something along those lines. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about this. Now, obviously there are different varieties of edges from, hard to soft, lost to found, that kind of thing. But we need to identify them both as the thing that is defining the edge, like in this particular case, a rock, and in this case, a soft bush. A rock obviously has harder edge work to it. So it's going to be a little harder and a little more structured, if you will. These organic edges, like a Palo Verde tree, like this one here, can be so soft that they just melt into the sky, and it's hard to really even put a hand or a finger, a brush edge on where they are. But it's nice to play one off the other and get the contrast between that fuzzy, soft, lost edge versus a more hard edge. Even within a rock, you're going to get edges that are super harsh, like the focal point here, versus this one, which is more rounded, which means it turns more slowly and is a softer edge as it transitions from light into shadow. This one, it's an immediate shift, which makes for a harder edge. But you can see how creating that hard edge right there, how it locks that in over the softer turn here or this one here, and certainly this up here. So it's important to identify those and figure out where you want the eye to go and lock it in with that edge. Now, these edges are going to become more and more soft as they recede off into the distance until finally this farthest edge, even though you have a pretty extreme value shift here, to create that illusion of distance, you need to go in and soften that. And I'll take a brush that's dipped in mineral spirits like this, a little smaller, and just ride it along that edge to turn that form over and push it back there. But you need to decide on whether you want this rock to feel more rounded or more edgy. Do you want this soft edge in front of that to be hard or soft? If you want it to read as a plant, you're going to want to soften it. If it's another rock, you're going to want to create a harder edge, and really play up on that and try to decide how quickly is that form turning, how solid is the form, and based on that, you can go ahead and play with edge work. Now, as I take this down, bear with me for a moment, and put this piece up. Now on this one, we're dealing with value contrast, which makes for some opportunities for our hard edges here and there against the more soft edge of these two sunstruck items, which are close in value. The color jumps out, but the value is very close. So on these willow bushes that were approaching lost leaves here, you can see I still played up on the shape of the object and then the light, mid-tone, and shadow to create that illusion of it turning over. But I really softened the outer edge to create that feel of a plant from late fall going into winter. These more solid aspen trees back here that had all their leaves made for a denser shape, so they're going to be more edgy. Particularly when they're sunstruck against this dark mountain back here, you're going to get that edge. And this is what this painting played up to, this area right here. You have this lead-in that takes you up there, so I don't want anything down here, a hard edge to slow the eye. I just want a continuous line that takes you up into this area here and then sort of swings you back around. But even more so than the previous painting we discussed, the edge is harder here because this has more contrast between that shadowed mountain back there in the sky. But I'm controlling the viewer's eye with edge work throughout this painting and creating balance based on where I want the eye to go. And I'm also taking into consideration the physical texture and identity of these elements. I certainly don't want a cloud to be as textured as a bush in the foreground, so I soften those more. I don't want the edge work on this mountain to be softer than the cloud, or the cloud wouldn't work. I want them to feel like what they are, a floating cloud versus a structured peak versus this organic plant life in these trees and bushes, and figure out which one you want to be more dense, where the focal point is, and lead your eye into that, and really carve in an edge by not only by virtue of contrast, what you're seeing here, but also just a hard edge there or here. And if I wanted the eye down here, I'd go in and I'd take this dark and really create a hard edge there to bring the attention there. But you can really control where the viewer is going to look by edge work. So keep that in mind. Hard, soft, lost, found. Look for continuous line work that takes you through, and it's sort of, you can see it's lost here, it's found again, and then it morphs into this, and we don't have it anymore. And then the value of that hillside as it moves in brings you right back up here into the color of these trees and right up into the edge of this and all the way back down and around. So I'm controlling where the viewer goes. I talk to you folks a lot about lead-ins. There are many ways to do that. Line, value, color, contrast, physical edge work. So keep that all in mind when you're deciding to control your painting and the viewer and where you want to go, and celebrate edge work. Hi, my name is Matt Smith. One of the primary goals of this online course is to give folks the opportunity to study with me for a full year at their convenience, on their own time frame. It's not always easy to block out a week or more time to travel to a distant location for the purpose of studying with an artist of choice. Allowing oneself to study as their schedule permits creates a more relaxed atmosphere, which in turn opens the mind to learning. This is an opportunity I really wish I had in my early years. The course begins with an introductory module covering the basic consideration of tools, equipment, studio arrangement, lighting, the importance of indoor versus outdoor time, photography as a tool, and much more. This first module will set the tone for the remaining modules, which will dive more deeply into the basics of drawing, value, design, and color. In the remaining 4 modules, I'll discuss why these basics are important, how to identify them, and in return, how to use them not only to analyze your chosen subject, but how to use them to create a blueprint for building your painting. It is so important to train your mind to see and think as an artist rather than someone who just documents what's in front of them. The way to do this is by understanding these fundamentals and applying them to the subject at hand. In other words, see by way of the basics, line, shape, value, etc., rather than all the physical components that make up the finished scene, like twigs, pebbles, and leaves. I'll then reinforce these concepts with both unedited visuals, photographs, and finished paintings that support the idea at hand. I'll then complete a demo of a subject that represents the particular fundamental addressed in each module. I'll also include a variety of photographic images for student use. Participants will also have access to me throughout the year by way of a private Facebook group. You'll be able to contact me with questions related to areas of difficulty or whatever you may be working on and want to discuss. This one-on-one time is where we can really fine-tune areas of interest for you. Thank you, and I really hope you can join me.